Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're cutting through the noise, trying to bring you a really focused, insightful look at the most significant headlines coming out of India.
Right.
These are dated July 29th and 30th, 2025.
Right.
Our mission, as always, is to get you not just informed, but thoroughly informed, and quickly. We're talking about stripping away the clutter, getting straight to the core of what truly matters in these stories as they unfold.
And that's exactly what this deep dive is designed for. We'll be unpacking some genuinely complex issues today, connecting the dots that might not be immediately obvious, and providing that essential context behind the big headlines. Think of it like your high-level news briefing, but honestly, with much deeper insights. We're aiming to distill those surprising facts, that essential knowledge, specifically for you.
Absolutely. And when I say breadth of topics, I really mean it. We're covering everything from high-stakes international diplomacy, trade negotiations, directly into some critical national security debates. Then we'll move through some, frankly, surprising cultural phenomena, and even touch on significant corporate policy shifts affecting these huge global tech giants.
It's quite a mix.
It is. It's a curated stack of insights, really, designed to give you a comprehensive feel for India's current pulse. So, without further ado, let's just dive right in.
Okay,
let's unpack this first one, because this is a headline that could send, immediate ripples across global supply chains, national economies too. We're talking escalating trade tensions, U.S. India. And it's directly under this looming threat from former U.S. President Donald Trump. Just yesterday, July 29th, he issued a direct ultimatum. He's threatening tariffs of up to 25% on Indian imports. This isn't just a casual remark, is it? It feels very deliberate.
Oh, it's absolutely unambiguous. It's a very clear declaration. What's particularly striking here is just how clear and, public his language was. He directly told reporters, and I'm quoting here, they are going to pay 25%. And he even suggested that specific range, saying India might face tariffs somewhere between 20 and 25%. Now, he did sort of punctuate his remarks by calling Indian leaders friends.
Right, a typical framing.
Exactly, but the underlying message was undeniably firm. He's still pressing, relentlessly it seems, for genuinely reciprocal trade terms. So this isn't just negotiation. It feels like a very direct demand.
And backed by a deadline.
Backed by a very specific, very rapidly approaching deadline of August 1st. For this, long pending trade deal to be finalized, it sets a very clear ultimatum, no question.
And for anyone who's followed President Trump's approach to trade, this feeling, this sentiment isn't new regarding India, is it? He has been incredibly consistent, almost singularly focused in his criticism.
That's true.
Pointing to what he sees as their, notoriously high tariffs and these really complex regulations. He views them as significant barriers to American exports. I distinctly recall a temporary 26% tariff he actually imposed back in April of this year, which was then, maybe surprisingly, paused. This pattern suggests a recurring theme, almost a playbook in his strategy.
Indeed, it's a consistent strategy, and it's really crucial to understand that his focus, it goes beyond just those headline tariffs, the obvious duties on goods.
Right.
This raises an important question about the less visible, often, frankly, more insidious barriers. What economists and trade negotiators call non-tariff barriers.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, these include things like India's digital services taxes, which have been a point of contention not just with the U.S., but frankly with many countries.
Right.
And also these highly complex testing and certification standards. U.S. companies argue they seem specifically designed to make it just prohibitively difficult to get their products into the Indian market.
So hidden hurdles.
Exactly. These non-tariff barriers have been a particular and growing focus of White House scrutiny because they can be even harder to quantify and dismantle than direct tariffs. They're trickier.
So we've got this intense public pressure, this very direct threat, but also this complex diplomatic dance happening sort of simultaneously in the background. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer recently acknowledged talks are ongoing, but crucially stressed the need for deeper negotiations. That implies current discussions aren't quite hitting the mark yet.
Seems that way.
On India's side, they've signaled a willingness, to open parts of their market, which is a concession, no doubt, but what those concrete commitments actually involve remains pretty elusive to the public.
Very much so.
India's Commerce Minister has expressed what seems like cautious optimism about meeting that August 1st deadline. Yet we're still without clear public information on the major sticking points. What are the specific compromises? It really feels like a high-stakes poker game, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, each side holding their cards very close to their chest. And the history of these particular negotiations makes it even more fraught, I think.
How-
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you might recall that incident back in May. Former President Trump prematurely claimed India had already agreed to eliminate tariffs on U.S. goods.
Oh, right. That caused a stir.
A huge stir. It was seen as a major diplomatic gaffe from India's perspective.
Hmm.
India was exceptionally quick to rebut that claim. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar called the announcement premature and pointedly described the ongoing negotiations as complicated and intricate.
So that history looms large.
Exactly. That past misstep exemplifies just how challenging and sensitive these discussions are, and how careful both sides, but particularly the U.S., need to be with public statements that can either, accelerate or completely derail progress. It highlights the deeply entrenched positions.
Ultimately, this all boils down to massive economic stakes for both countries. Last year alone, total U.S. India trade hit a staggering $129 billion.
It's a huge number.
And to break that down for you, just to underscore the imbalance Trump often critiques, the U.S. imported $87 billion worth of goods from India, a substantial figure. Things like crucial pharmaceuticals, communication devices, apparel.
Key sectors.
Conversely, India imported $42 billion from the U.S., mainly in areas like machinery, agricultural products. So if these tariffs, these 20-25% duties, are actually imposed, we're talking about a significant immediate impact on countless businesses, workers, policymakers in both nations. That is an enormous amount of money and livelihoods, frankly, on the table.
And this particular threat, it really needs to be viewed through the consistent lens of the Trump administration's overarching America First trade policy.
Right, it's not in isolation.
Not at all. This policy isn't just about specific tariffs. It fundamentally demands greater reciprocal access to foreign markets and terms globally. The threats against India are part of a consistent, aggressive approach. It seeks to fundamentally rebalance trade relationships in favor of the U.S. as they see it, often, at the expense of established international trade norms.
So this ongoing back and forth, this mix of public threats and quiet negotiation, what does this tell you, the listener, about the nature of international trade talks, especially when you have these high-profile, often populist figures involved, and a deal, often defined on their terms, is the ultimate goal?
It forces us to question the future of global trade diplomacy, doesn't it? How much is posturing? How much is genuine policy shift?
That's the crucial question, yeah. How much is for domestic consumption? How much is a long-term strategic change? Okay, let's shift gears slightly. But we're staying very much in the realm of economic strategy, national resilience.
Okay.
We've seen India's financial approach taking a very interesting, almost defensive turn lately. The Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, has significantly increased its gold purchases. This isn't just a simple asset rebalance, is it? It feels like more.
No, it really doesn't. What's genuinely fascinating here is the sheer volume and I think the acceleration of these gold acquisitions.
Right.
In June 2025 alone, the RBI acquired approximately 400 kilograms. A solid addition, sure. Pushing India's total declared gold reserves from 879.6 to 879.8 tons.
Okay.
But crucially, the most significant, really attention-grabbing move happened even earlier, in April. The RBI acquired an astonishing 57.5 tons of gold.
57 tons?
Yeah.
Wow.
And to put that in perspective for you, that single acquisition actually outpaced China's monthly gold accumulation during the same period, which is quite a statement in the world of central bank reserve management.
So this isn't just incremental routine buying. This is clearly a deliberate strategic shift. We're seeing gold share within India's total foreign reserves climb noticeably from 8.9% to 12.1%.
That's a significant jump.
It really signals a conscious, proactive effort by the central bank to diversify assets, moving away from traditional instruments like, say, the U.S. dollar, towards what's seen as a more stable, tangible asset. It definitely feels like a very calculated move, driven by larger global concerns.
It absolutely does. Gold has, well, for centuries been considered the quintessential safe haven asset, right? Especially during periods of pronounced global uncertainty. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the RBI's accelerated buying spree is widely interpreted by financial analysts as a sophisticated hedge, a hedge against risks associated with, fluctuating international trade relations.
The very tariff threats we just discussed.
Exactly. And potential instability or even weakening of the U.S. dollar. This directly ties into heightened fears of a looming global trade war. Analysts explicitly cite former U.S. President Trump's tariff threats as a major impetus for this move.
Interesting connection.
And the fact that rising gold prices are often directly linked to these very geopolitical tensions likely influenced India's move to secure greater reserves now as a buffer against future shocks.
So in essence, the RBI isn't just stacking up a commodity. They're aiming to reinforce India's overall economic resilience.
Precise.
A larger, more robust gold reserve is consistently seen as a powerful symbol: national financial strength, stability. Critically, it can also support investor confidence during periods of market stress, geopolitical instability, even currency devaluation. It acts as a tangible, globally recognized asset.
Yeah, it's very visible.
With a very practical, very visible way to project stability and strength in uncertain times.
Exactly. And the deeper insight here isn't just about symbol diversification, I think. It's about a subtle but significant shift in global reserve management philosophy that many central banks are quietly adopting.
Oh, how so?
Well, many, particularly in emerging economies, seem to be increasingly moving away from an over-reliance on the U.S. dollar. They view gold as a more sovereign, perhaps less politically exposed asset.
Right.
India's accelerated pace, especially outpacing China back in April, sends a really clear signal. It suggests they see this not just as a hedge against current trade tensions, but as strategic preparation for a potentially more multipolar global financial system, one where the dollar's traditional dominance might be less assured.
So, looking ahead.
It's a proactive step towards greater financial autonomy, greater resilience, in a world where economic power balances are subtly but surely shifting.
It also strongly connects to the Modi government's broader long-term priorities, doesn't it? Ensuring deep economic stability amidst these evolving, increasingly unpredictable global uncertainties.
Absolutely.
By fortifying India's standing within international financial ecosystems with tangible assets like gold, they're proactively preparing for a potentially turbulent future.
Yep.
Trying to buffer the nation against external shocks. So how does a central bank's decision to buy such significant quantities of gold impact your understanding of global economic stability? It's clearly not just about a vault full of shiny metal, is it?
Not at all. It's about a nation's strategic foresight, its perceived national security, its resilience in the face of a changing world order. It's a fundamental decision on how a nation perceives and prepares for global economic volatility, reflecting a profound shift in risk assessment.
Okay, moving from economic strategy to the deeply interconnected world of national security and the volatile landscape of political polarization in India. We have some very sharp exchanges recently that really highlight these tensions.
Yes, indeed.
Rahul Gandhi, a prominent opposition figure, key voice of the Indian National Congress, launched a blistering criticism during a recent parliamentary debate, directly targeting the Modi government, and specifically External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar.
And his core accusation was pretty stark, designed to cut deep, I think. He pointed to what he called the international silence following that horrific April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack.
Right.
He specifically emphasized that, in his view, no country blamed Pakistan for the incident, which he then controversially labeled a disturbing new normal.
So painting a picture of diplomatic failure.
Exactly, arguing the government hadn't adequately isolated Pakistan on the global stage after such a major incident.
And he didn't just stop at general accusations of diplomatic failure, did he?
No, he certainly didn't. If we connect this to the broader context of international diplomacy, Gandhi highlighted a very pointed detail, one he used to underscore his argument.
Of course it was.
Pakistan's army chief, General Asim Munir, was apparently dining with Trump just days after the Pahalgam attack.
Ah.
Gandhi used this specific interaction to imply a significant diplomatic failing on India's part, suggesting a lack of international condemnation or isolation for Pakistan, even after a major terror incident on Indian soil. It was a direct, pointed attack on the government's foreign policy approach.
And Gandhi didn't just focus on the international front. He brought the criticism right back home to domestic politics, aiming directly at Prime Minister Modi.
Yes, he did.
Gandhi accused Modi of leveraging military action, specifically Operation Sindoor, not for pure national defense, but for self-promotion and image building.
A serious charge.
Very serious. He went further, suggesting the government's intent behind the operation was more performative than strategic, and implied that the Indian armed forces, these revered institutions, were being used as a political tool for electoral gain rather than purely for national security objectives. That strikes right at the heart of public trust in military actions.
And these remarks, as you can well imagine, predictably sparked heated political responses, immediately reflecting that deepening rift between the opposition, led by Congress, and the ruling BJP.
Hmm.
Gandhi's critique directly cast doubt on the strategic and international implications of Operation Sindoor, fundamentally challenging the foreign ministry's narrative and accusing Minister Jaishankar of failing to build international consensus or secure explicit condemnation of Pakistan. It's a significant ideological and strategic battle playing out very publicly.
So his comments really set the stage for renewed, maybe intensified political discourse around national security, foreign policy, and what is always a very controversial topic,
Yeah,
the role of military operations in domestic politics.
absolutely.
It seems Operation Sindoor is becoming a definite flashpoint in India's political landscape. Not just a military operation, but a deeply politicized event.
That seems fair to say.
So, as you, the listener, hear these sharply opposing views, one framing it as diplomatic failure and political opportunism, the other as decisive action, what elements help you discern the actual nuanced impact of such events? It's rarely as simple as one side or the other, is it?
No, it rarely is. It forces you to look beyond the rhetoric. It requires looking at both the stated aims and the perceived outcomes, domestically and internationally, while also trying to discern the political motivations behind the rhetoric itself.
And naturally, the ruling BJP wasn't silent in response to Gandhi's criticisms.
Not at all, far from it. Union Minister Kiran Rijiju vigorously defended the government. He urged the opposition to abandon what he termed cheap politics, following Prime Minister Modi's own Lok Sabha speech about Operation Sindoor. It was a strong, unified counterattack.
And Rijiju's stance was crystal clear, wasn't it? He asserted that Prime Minister Modi had clearly articulated the government's stance with transparency and had responded to all allegations with precision, leaving no room for doubt.
That was the message.
He even expressed hope, perhaps somewhat optimistically given the current climate, for bipartisan support on such a critical national security matter. That's the government's official line, firmly delivered.
But Rijiju, who's known for his directness, he didn't really pull any punches. If we connect this to the broader political rhetoric in India, he made a rather provocative claim, one that's often used, actually.
Which was?
He claimed that the Congress Party's narrative, specifically on Operation Sindoor, mirrored rhetoric from Pakistan.
Ah, that's a common tactic.
It is a very common and potent tactic to try and discredit opposing views during sensitive national security debates, implying disloyalty or alignment with an adversary.
And other prominent BJP MPs were quick to jump in and reinforce the party line as well.
Yes, several voices. Mayank Nayak, for example, publicly praised Modi's bold approach. He highlighted Modi's now famous Goli ke samne gola strategy,
Which roughly translates to,
roughly meeting bullets with bombs, or maybe more colloquially, speaking in terms the enemy understands. Nayak firmly affirmed that Operation Sindoor represented a unified national resolve against terrorism.
right.
And he emphatically dismissed any claims that Modi was under international pressure to halt the offensive, painting him as a strong, independent leader acting solely in India's interests.
And others echoed this.
Yes, MP Maya Narolia echoed this sentiment. She celebrated Modi's strategic foresight and the military's undeniable effectiveness, stating quite clearly that the operation avenged civilian deaths and demonstrated strength to Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
She used the opportunity to encourage national unity and strongly alleged that Congress lacked substantive concerns, resorting instead to, in her view, disruptive tactics and political opportunism rather than constructive engagement.
Mahima Kumari Mewar also reinforced this comprehensive defense.
She did, stating that PM Modi and other team ministers had addressed all parliamentary questions comprehensively, leaving no stone unturned. She, too, called for bipartisan support on national security and specifically praised the armed forces' decisive actions, highlighting their efficiency and bravery. It was a very unified, very coordinated front from the ruling party to counter the opposition's narrative.
And perhaps most significantly, during the Lok Sabha session itself, Prime Minister Modi's own words. How do you describe it?
He described Operation Sindoor not just as a military success, but as a Vijay Utsav, which literally translates to a victory celebration.
A victory celebration.
Yes, he personally credited the Indian military for neutralizing terrorist launch pads across Pakistan within 22 minutes of the Pahalgam attack, emphasizing the speed and precision. Modi also directly refuted any misinformation, stating his government acted independently, without foreign pressure, presenting the operation as a clear, unassisted success showcasing India's strength and resolve.
So what this entire political discourse really highlights is, well, intensified political polarization within India, where even national security actions become battlegrounds for political gain.
Definitely seems that way.
But it also reflects, somewhat paradoxically perhaps, widespread national admiration for the military's swift and coordinated response. That seems to cut across political lines.
There's truth to that.
So when political figures sharply disagree on sensitive national security issues like this, what criteria do you, listening, use to evaluate their arguments? Is it the evidence presented? The consistency of their message? The historical context? Or maybe something else entirely?
It really requires a critical, multifaceted approach to discern the truth, doesn't it? It's a complex evaluation, needing you to critically assess motivations, potential biases, and the long-term strategic implications.
Absolutely. And speaking of political figures and international sparks, here's a headline that has caused a definite diplomatic firestorm, particularly between the U.S. and India.
Yes, this one.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has written a highly controversial letter to Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, the leader of the pro-Khalistan group Sikhs for Justice. This just happened on July 29th, and its reverberations are already being felt.
It's already making waves.
Here's where it gets really interesting and politically charged. Can you break down the specific language and the intended or perhaps unintended implications of this letter for us?
Okay. The letter, it's carefully worded, but still potent. It emphasized Trump's unwavering commitment to defending American citizens and upholding U.S. values, including freedom of expression.
Okay, standard phrasing for him.
Right. But while it meticulously avoided explicitly endorsing the Khalistan referendum itself or the broader separatist cause, this carefully chosen language was nonetheless widely interpreted as indirect support. A subtle nod, perhaps, for the upcoming August 17th Khalistan referendum scheduled right here in Washington, D.C.
So the context is key.
The subtle phrasing, combined with who the recipient was, elevates its significance far beyond just a simple courtesy letter.
And the recipient, Pannu. He's a figure of immense contention in India, right?
Absolutely. He's been officially labeled a terrorist by the Indian government since 2020, accused of orchestrating and supporting separatist violence. The fact that he then immediately posted the letter, an official communication from a former U.S. president on social media platform X, amplified its symbolic weight immensely. This clearly wasn't just a private correspondence. It was a public statement, strategically leveraged by Pannu.
Right, it wasn't meant to stay private.
Almost certainly not, and its public dissemination was likely anticipated, maybe even intended. If we connect this to the broader context of Trump's foreign policy philosophy, his message also explicitly underscored and reiterated his America First philosophy.
Also,
He asserted that protecting American rights, including freedom of expression, contributes not just to U.S. domestic well-being, but somehow to global safety. It's a reiteration of his consistent stance. U.S. interests and the rights of its citizens are paramount. And protecting them, even if controversial or diplomatically challenging for allies, serves a larger beneficial purpose in his view.
and naturally this has sparked strong, almost visceral concerns from India.
Understandably so.
The timing of the letter, just weeks before that contentious referendum, is seen by New Delhi as directly legitimizing a movement they've long considered a threat to their national unity, a movement they've tried fiercely to suppress internationally.
Yeah.
India unequivocally views this gesture as directly undermining India's territorial integrity and sovereignty. They perceive it as unwarranted interference in their internal affairs. It's not just a political spat. It's seen as a direct challenge to their foundational principles.
And it's important to remember this isn't really an isolated incident in the history of Trump's often unorthodox interactions with India.
That's true.
You might recall his previous, often bewildering claims. For instance, claiming to have mediated India-Pakistan ceasefires on 27 separate occasions, often making these declarations without India's consent or even prior knowledge.
Those cause headaches.
Exactly. These historical precedents highlight a pattern of engagement from Trump that has frequently led to, well, fraught U.S. India exchanges, where his actions have surprised and sometimes angered India's diplomatic establishment.
So this latest letter, seemingly benign perhaps to some observers, could significantly inflame already delicate bilateral relations, especially given India's ongoing aggressive efforts to delegitimize pro-Khalistan activism globally.
It certainly could.
That places the U.S. in a very tricky diplomatic position with a key strategic partner in the Indo-Pacific, potentially creating a rift at a time when cooperation is seen as crucial.
This incident is truly a fascinating, albeit maybe concerning, reflection of ongoing geopolitical tension. It's deeply entwined with populist diplomacy from figures like Trump, complex internal Indian politics around federalism and identity, and the potent force of diaspora activism in the U.S. It demonstrates vividly how seemingly isolated actions by influential international political figures can have complex, sometimes unintended consequences, causing significant ripple effects across domestic and global arenas simultaneously.
So how do actions by international political figures, particularly those maybe prioritizing domestic populist appeal, influence the delicate balance of domestic and diaspora politics in another sovereign nation? And what implications might this have for you as a global citizen tracking international stability?
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that political statements often have complex, far-reaching ripple effects far beyond their immediate intended target.
It's truly a multi-layered issue, underscoring the interconnectedness of our world.
Okay.
From the intricacies of high-stakes diplomacy and geopolitical maneuvering, let's turn our attention now to how these global forces manifest in another crucial domain, the rapidly evolving landscape of technology, infrastructure, and national defense preparedness.
Okay, let's do it.
First up, a major tech story involving Microsoft. They're responding to some significant political backlash regarding their recent 9,000 layoffs and their continued use of the H-1B visa program.
Right. Microsoft's response was quite clear, very direct, aimed squarely at countering a growing narrative. A company spokesperson stated unequivocally that the recent job cuts affecting 9,000 employees globally were unrelated to hiring foreign workers.
That's their core message.
Yes. They emphasized that H-1B petitions were in no way related to the layoffs. And importantly, they highlighted that many H-1B holders also lost their positions during these layoffs, directly rebutting the idea that American workers were simply being replaced by foreign labor. It was a direct attempt to clarify a very specific politically charged narrative.
And they provided a key data point to try and back that up, didn't they?
Yeah.
Attempting to put the numbers into perspective.
They did. 78% of Microsoft's H-1B filings in the past year were apparently extensions for existing employees, not new hires.
Oh.
That figure, they argue, indicates a focus on continuity rather than expansion of foreign staffing. In essence, they're asserting they're primarily working to retain their existing skilled talent rather than bringing in a huge influx of new foreign workers, which is a crucial distinction in this whole debate.
The key critic driving much of the backlash here, bringing this issue to the forefront, is Republican Senator J.D. Vance. Correct.
That's right. He has been very vocal in his accusations that Microsoft is allegedly replacing American workers with cheaper overseas labor. That's a claim that resonates strongly with a particular segment of the American political base, those concerned about domestic job displacement.
And he certainly didn't mince words. Vance was quoted directly saying, and I quote, "You see some big tech companies lay off 9,000 workers and then apply for a bunch of overseas visas? That math worries me."
Yeah, it's a very pointed challenge, framing the issue as a clear numerical discrepancy that he believes indicates a problematic corporate strategy.
This specific incident connects directly to the broader policy context around the H-1B program, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The H-1B program has long been instrumental to Silicon Valley's ability to attract and retain highly specialized talent. We know that.
Right.
However, it has simultaneously become a focal point amid broader immigration debates in the U.S., especially with the Trump administration's consistent push to overhaul it under their America First policies. MAGA-aligned activists, for instance, have been particularly vocal, calling for an end to what they perceive as exploitative hiring practices that they believe disadvantage American workers. The program itself, despite its stated goals, remains deeply divisive.
So what we're seeing here is a definite tension, a clash between the tech sector's staffing strategies, which often emphasize skilled talent retention through visa renewals to maintain expertise and project continuity, and this evolving political scrutiny over immigration and labor policy, particularly in a climate of economic uncertainty.
That's a good summary.
When corporate actions of a major global player like Microsoft meet such intense political scrutiny and public backlash, how do you evaluate the competing claims and the underlying motivations of both sides? Is it primarily about economic efficiency, about national security through workforce protection, or something else entirely rooted in ideological perspectives?
It's a complex intersection of business and politics. It often boils down to differing interpretations of what constitutes fair labor practices and who truly benefits within a globalized, highly competitive economy.
Okay, let's shift our focus to another tech giant, or perhaps a visionary tech disruptor facing regulatory headwinds in India. Elon Musk's Starlink.
Ah, Starlink.
India has just imposed a significant cap on its operations within the country.
That's right, and there are quite specific details to this cap which indicate a very deliberate policy decision. Minister of State for Telecom, Pemasani Chandrasekhar, announced it.
What are the specifics?
Clear boundaries were set, a maximum of 2 million connections for Starlink across the whole of India, and specified speeds of up to 200 mil apiece.
2 million connections. So that seems quite limited for a country the size of India.
It does, and importantly, the minister explicitly stated that this restriction, which might seem prohibitive to a rapidly expanding global player like Starlink, would not adversely impact domestic telecom services. He specifically named the state-owned Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, or BSNL,
Right.
as well as major private players like Reliance Jio and Bharti Airtel, assuring that their markets would remain protected.
So the official rationale given for this cap on Starlink, it stems from what the government perceives as Starlink's current infrastructure capacity. Is that right?
That's the official line. But beyond that, the stated intent is for satellite communications, or SATCOM, to primarily serve rural and remote regions.
Okay. Areas underserved currently.
Exactly. These are, quite incidentally, areas traditionally underserved by ground-based infrastructure and historically covered by the state-owned BSNL, so it aligns neatly with a public service mandate, directing foreign players to areas of national priority rather than letting them compete freely in already competitive urban markets.
And there's a practical constraint, too, isn't there?
Yep.
Beyond the regulatory cap. The cost.
Yes, a very practical constraint for Starlink. The high upfront and recurring costs associated with its service. While it's promising technology, the monthly service fee is potentially around $3,000, which for many in India is a significant amount.
That's quite high.
It is. This cost barrier could significantly limit accessibility, even for those in remote areas, effectively positioning Starlink as more of a premium service rather than a mass market solution, even without the government cap.
This strategic move also has very clear indirect beneficiaries within India's robust domestic telecom landscape, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. By limiting Starlink's potential scale and speed, the cap essentially benefits Jio and Airtel by shielding their urban and high-speed broadband markets from disruption.
Right. Protects the home players.
It acts as a protective measure, ensuring that established domestic players remain dominant in the most lucrative segments and aren't immediately challenged by a powerful new global competitor.
And speaking of BSNL, the state-owned player, they're undergoing modernization efforts.
Yes, significant ones. It's part of India's broader Atmanirbhar Bharat, or Self-Reliant India initiative. They've completed their 4G rollout, apparently, and are actively preparing a phased transition away from legacy Chinese 2G and 3G equipment,
Towards indigenous tech.
aiming for entirely indigenous 5G solutions in the near future. And crucially, they're targeting this without planned tariff hikes, demonstrating a commitment to affordable, domestically sourced technology and infrastructure.
Minister Sekhar also emphasized that 4G currently meets the needs of most users.
He did. He said 4G currently meets the needs of about 75% of users in India, suggesting there isn't an immediate, widespread need for high-speed satellite internet for the general population. He added that India's homegrown 5G tech will be deployed when financially viable, underscoring that priority of local development. The government also targets an ambitious 20–30% annual revenue growth for BSNL through enhanced network reliability and regional performance benchmarks, clearly signaling a strategic intent to strengthen its public sector telecom.
So in essence, this decision represents India's cautious embrace of foreign satellite providers like Starlink.
I think that's a good way to put it, balancing the potential for technological advancement with the simultaneous imperative of safeguarding local infrastructure development and strategic autonomy in telecom. It sends a very clear message. While global tech players like Elon Musk's Starlink are welcome, they must operate within constraints that align with national priorities and ecosystem readiness.
So how do such regulatory decisions, reflecting these national priorities, shape the future of technology access and competition in a country? And what might this mean for you as a consumer of digital services in an increasingly well-controlled global landscape?
It's a careful balancing act, isn't it, between encouraging innovation and maintaining national control over critical infrastructure.
It definitely shows the government's strategic hand in shaping its digital future, prioritizing domestic growth and control. And speaking of strategic moves, Let's turn to national defense. India has just achieved a very significant military milestone here.
Yes, this is big news.
The Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, successfully conducted 2 back-to-back flight tests of the Pralay missile in July 2025. This seems like a potential game-changer for India's conventional strike capabilities.
It is indeed a major development. With significant strategic implications, the tests were conducted off the coast of Odisha at Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island, which is a key missile testing site for India.
And Pralay is what type of missile exactly?
It's specifically classified as a tactical surface-to-surface ballistic missile, designed for high-precision strikes in regional conflicts, particularly, in the immediate neighborhood. Its designation as tactical is important, distinguishing it from longer-range strategic missiles.
And its technical prowess sounds quite impressive, really pushing the boundaries for a conventional tactical missile.
It really is.
It boasts a versatile range of 150–500 kilometers, making it suitable for hitting targets near or further from the border. It can carry a substantial payload, 350 to 1,000 kilograms, allowing for various warhead options, and critically, terminal speeds reaching Mach 6.1.
Incredible speed.
To put that in perspective, that's over 7,500 kilometers per hour. Those are truly serious capabilities for a tactical missile, aren't they?
They absolutely are. And just to put Mach 6.1 into even clearer perspective for listeners, that's roughly 8 times the speed of sound.
Wow.
To give you a comparative idea, most modern fighter jets operate at Mach 2 or 3. So, at Mach 6.1, combined with its highly advanced guidance system using inertial navigation and maneuverable re-entry vehicle, or MAR-V technology.
RV technology.
Yes, MAR-RV. It allows the missile to change course mid-flight, making its trajectory unpredictable. This makes Pralay an incredibly difficult target for any existing air defense system to intercept. It delivers pinpoint accuracy with a circular error probable CEP under 10 meters.
So, extremely accurate.
Extraordinarily accurate. It's not just fast, it's evasive and accurate, significantly enhancing India's ability to achieve precise strikes on high-value targets without escalating beyond conventional means. Plus, its 2-stage solid-fuel engine allows for rapid launch readiness and high acceleration, enhancing its survivability against preemptive strikes.
And its deployment system is also quite advanced, very practical for battlefield use.
Yes, an 8x8 Bemel Tatra transporter erector launcher. This offers crucial road mobility, allowing for rapid deployment from various locations, and enhanced camouflage makes it highly survivable and versatile on the battlefield, unlike, say, fixed launch sites.
And operationally, what kind of targets is it designed for?
Critical ones: enemy air bases, command centers, radar installations, logistics hubs deep inside adversary territory. Basically things that could paralyze an opponent's operational capability. And it can carry various payloads, high explosive fragmentation, penetration cum blast, even runway denial munitions, which could quickly incapacitate enemy airfields.
This missile seems to fill a really vital strategic gap for India's conventional military capabilities.
It absolutely does. Pralay is India's first conventionally armed quasi-ballistic missile tailored specifically for battlefield use. This is crucial because, unlike India's strategic Agni series, which includes nuclear options and serves as a strategic deterrent,
Right.
Pralay enables forceful retaliation below the nuclear threshold. This means India can respond robustly to conventional threats without necessarily implying a nuclear escalation. Its agility and mobility are key for survivability and delivering swift, precise strikes in high-intensity scenarios. It offers a flexible and potent response option.
And its induction into active service appears imminent, marking a rapid progression from development to deployment.
That's the indication. There's already procurement approved for over 370 missiles, with concrete plans for extensive deployments near the line of actual control, LAC, and line of control, LOC.
And just quickly for our listeners, the significance of the LAC and LOC.
Yes, absolutely crucial strategic locations for India. The LAC, line of actual control, is the de facto border with China, particularly tense in recent years with ongoing standoffs. The LOC, line of control, is the military control line dividing Kashmir between India and Pakistan. It remains a highly active and contested frontier. Deploying a missile like Pralay at these locations sends a very clear, unequivocal message about India's conventional deterrent capabilities and its readiness to respond swiftly and decisively to threats in these highly sensitive regions.
So this successful testing and imminent deployment marks a major leap in India's defense preparedness, projecting regional deterrence, ensuring tactical superiority across future conflict zones. How do advancements in conventional military technology, like the Pralay missile, reshape regional power dynamics? And what does this mean for your understanding of global security, particularly in a region already prone to flashpoints?
It's a powerful statement of a nation's military evolution and its strategic intent. It certainly is a game changer for regional security, signaling a shift in the balance of conventional power.
Okay, let's transition now from the complexities of national security to something entirely different, but equally impactful in its own sphere: the vibrant world of Indian culture and a surprisingly compelling storytelling drama.
All right, a change of pace.
First up, a major sleeper hit at the box office, the Indian film Saiyaara. It has just become 2025's second highest grossing Indian film to date, which is quite remarkable, especially considering it had minimal marketing and a cast led by newcomers.
That's fascinating. In an industry often dominated by massive marketing budgets and established superstars, this is truly an underdog story. What exactly made Sayara such an unexpected success?
What's truly unexpected here, and may be quite a testament to its quality, are the factors contributing to its success. It entered the market with minimal marketing, a relatively limited theatrical release compared to other blockbusters,
Right.
and a cast led by relative newcomers Ahan Pandey and Aneet Pata.
Mm-hmm.
Despite these traditional handicaps, the Mohit Suri-directed musical Romance, which premiered July 18th, has already earned an astounding $46.8 million globally in less than 2 weeks.
Wow, $46.8 million.
Yeah. Digging deeper into those numbers, that's $36.5 million, or about 318 crore INR from domestic audiences, and a very strong $3.24 million in the U.S. alone. These are figures typically associated with much larger productions.
Those numbers are truly impressive, especially when you contextualize them against the behemoths of Bollywood. This performance places Sayara unequivocally ahead of star-studded Hindi titles like Raid 2, Sitar Zameen Par, and Houseful 5. All major releases with significant budgets, established actors.
Right.
It trails only behind Chava, which is a big historical action drama that's a significant upset, proving that quality and resonance can sometimes triumph over conventional marketing might.
So what's the appeal? What's the story?
The film's deep appeal seems rooted in its earnest storytelling and the undeniable musical chemistry between its leads. It tells the heartfelt story of Krish, a troubled musician, and Vayani, a shy poet. They form this emotional and creative bond through their shared love of music, despite having contrasting backgrounds and personal beliefs.
Yeah.
This universal narrative of connection, artistic synergy, it appears to have resonated deeply across varied demographics. Capturing the imagination of audiences who might be tired of formulaic blockbusters, its authentic portrayal of relationships and struggles seems to have really struck a chord.
And its opening day numbers were surprisingly strong, too, indicating immediate word-of-mouth success.
Exactly. It grossed $2.5 million in India on its first day, a major feat for a film with a non-traditional release strategy and a new cast. Even its U.S. performance was notable: $1.28 million from 215 screens in its second weekend, ranking 9th nationwide according to ComScore. That's a strong showing for an Indian film in the highly competitive U.S. market.
This success really highlights significant shifting audience preferences, doesn't it? And a growing interest in authentic, music-driven narratives that prioritize story and emotional depth over celebrity.
I think so. It's a powerful testament to the idea that compelling storytelling can indeed find its audience. Yash Raj Films, which distributed the movie in the U.S., certainly benefited immensely from this sleeper hit's unexpected traction. The film reinforces the idea that compelling storytelling and emotional depth can drive box office success, even in the absence of big-name actors or massive blockbuster marketing campaigns. What does Saiyaara's success tell you about the true power of storytelling over sheer star power and marketing blitz in today's entertainment landscape?
It's a refreshing counter-narrative to the usual blockbuster formula. Suggests a more discerning audience, perhaps.
It absolutely proves that good content, told with heart, will find its audience and make its own waves.
Okay, now let's move from the silver screen to the cricket pitch, where we saw some unexpected sporting drama involving India's recently appointed head coach, Gautam Gambhir.
Ah, Gambhir. Yes.
There was apparently a tense altercation between him and Surrey's head of ground staff, Lee Fortis, at the Oval, a very prestigious cricket venue in London.
Right. The incident unfolded just ahead of India's scheduled match against a local team when the Indian team was inspecting the pitch. Fortis, the head groundsman, reportedly asked Gambhir to maintain distance from the wicket, which is a standard, almost sacrosanct protocol in cricket.
It's a standard procedure.
Exactly. Meant to preserve the integrity of the playing surface. It's a basic rule observed globally to protect the pitch from undue wear or interference before a match.
And we had an eyewitness confirmation of this rather unusual exchange from India's batting coach, Sitanshu Kotak.
Yes, Kotak confirmed that Fortis did indeed raise concerns about Gambhir's proximity. Gambhir, who's known for his intensely competitive nature, his assertive demeanor,
Fully intent.
reportedly responded with visible irritation, leading to a heated exchange between the two. Fortunately, no physical contact, but the tension, by all accounts, was palpable, left onlookers quite surprised.
So Fortis's actions were entirely aligned with standard professional practice.
Completely. The Oval's ground staff, like those at other major international cricket venues, typically enforce strict guidelines for pitch inspection, especially before high-stakes international fixtures, to ensure fair play, prevent any pre-match interference. Gambhir's reaction, however, appeared to reflect maybe a deep-seated frustration over perceived micromanagement, or perhaps just a disruption of the team's carefully planned routine. It was a classic clash, wasn't it? Rigid protocol versus a strong, uncompromising personality in a very public setting.
Kotak later attempted to downplay the incident, calling it a minor misunderstanding.
He did, stating that it ultimately didn't affect team preparations or morale, but it definitely attracted significant attention, especially in the media. Given Gambhir's prominent role in shaping India's coaching culture and his intense focus on match readiness,
He's a very visible figure.
very visible, often controversial figure in Indian cricket, so any public friction involving him tends to quickly become news.
This clash also comes amid broader scrutiny of pitch conditions at key venues globally, doesn't it?
It does, as teams increasingly prioritize inspection nuances to gain even the slightest advantage. Coaches and captains are meticulous in gauging factors like bounce, spin, wear of the pitch. The oval, in particular, is known for its unique blend of pace and turn, which evolves as a match progresses. That makes Gambhir's intense interest in closely assessing its surface a very strategic part of his preparation. This incident, while minor, highlights the extreme strategic interest coaches have in the playing conditions, almost treating the pitch itself as an extension of the tactical battleground.
So while it didn't escalate to anything major, this minor but public clash highlights the delicate interplay between sports diplomacy and operational protocol in international cricket. It's a subtle but important point about managing boundaries, personalities, in high-pressure professional environments where every detail can be seen as crucial.
Absolutely.
What do these kinds of minor but public clashes reveal about the immense pressures and strong personalities involved in high-stakes professional sports? And what does this say to you about managing boundaries and expectations in any competitive field?
It's a reminder that even off-field moments can carry significant weight. It absolutely shows that even seemingly small interactions can carry significant weight. When prominent figures are involved, the stakes are high, and how individual personalities can butt up against established norms.
Definitely. And finally, let's wrap up our deep dive today with some highly controversial comments from Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi, delivered on July 29th during a speech at Rashtriya Raksha University. These remarks have already ignited a fierce debate in India.
Yes, these caused quite a stir.
His core criticism was quite pointed, striking at a foundational element of modern India's structure. Can you explain exactly what he said?
Governor Ravi made a deeply provocative claim that India's post-independence linguistic reorganization of states, which happened back in the 1950s and 60s, ultimately led to the creation of second-class citizens.
Oh, that's a huge statement.
A profound and highly controversial statement on how the country was structured after independence. It challenges a widely accepted historical consensus.
And he elaborated on his argument.
He did, asserting that dividing states based purely on language, which was done, remember, to accommodate diverse regional identities, in fact, exacerbated social and regional disparities rather than resolving them. He even cited Tamil Nadu itself, the very state where he serves as governor, as a prime example of this problem, which is a particularly notable and contentious point given the state's fierce pride in its linguistic identity and history.
And Governor Ravi's background informs this view. He's former police.
Yes, he's a former officer of the Indian Police Service, IPS, one of India's premier civil services. This background means he brings a very particular lens to national security and governance debates. He has extensive hands-on experience in conflict-prone regions such as Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast.
Right.
He used this background to claim, quite dramatically, that the entire Northeast was burning until 2014. implying a significant shift in governance strategy since then. These remarks were part of a broader address on national security and governance, where he was highlighting policy successes since 2014 under the current administration.
And in the very same speech, he also notably praised Operation Sindoor, the military action we discussed earlier.
He did, calling it a textbook example of using swift military means to achieve a political objective. He predicted it would be remembered for its decisiveness and rapid execution. This clearly aligns with the central government's rhetoric, supporting the narrative we discussed and reinforcing the BJP's stance on the operation.
So Governor Ravi's highly controversial take on India's linguistic divisions has undeniably reignited debate around identity politics and India's federal structure.
Without question, especially given Tamil Nadu's long-standing resistance to Hindi imposition and any attempts at centralization of power away from states. His speech hinted at these deeper ideological divides between regional autonomy advocates, who cherish linguistic and cultural diversity, and proponents of national integration rooted in a more unified cultural uniformity. It's a very old fault line in Indian politics resurfacing.
And reactions were strong and immediate, I assume?
Predictably so, from across the political spectrum. On one side, you have critics alleging an attempt to delegitimize regional diversity and undermine the very fabric of India's multiculturalism. On the other, you have supporters seeing his remarks as a call to revisit structural flaws, perhaps embedded in India's federal design, maybe suggesting a need for a more unified national identity over regional ones. It truly stirred the pot, highlighting how sensitive these issues of identity remain.
This speech, by sort of seamlessly merging reflections on security, regional governance, and this deeply held national identity, it powerfully underscores the increasing convergence of domestic politics and ideological narratives around nationalism and statehood.
It really shows how history is constantly being reinterpreted and debated in the present.
How do historical political decisions, like the linguistic reorganization of states, continue to profoundly influence modern identity and regional dynamics?
Yeah.
What challenges does this pose for you in understanding nation building in a diverse country like India?
It's a powerful reminder that history is never truly settled, is it? And its echoes are still very much alive today.
And those historical echoes are indeed still very much alive, still shaping current debates.
Wow. What an incredibly expansive deep dive we've had today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We've spanned from the brink of a major U.S. India trade war, India's strategic bolstering of its gold reserves, to the heated political debates surrounding national security, military actions like Operation Sindoor, and even touched on the fascinating dynamics of a sleeper hit movie captivating audiences and a cricket pitch showdown involving a prominent coach.
Indeed. These seemingly disparate headlines are, as we've explored, often deeply interconnected, revealing the complex interplay of global economic forces, domestic political dynamics, evolving national security strategies, even cultural shifts, all profoundly shaping a nation as dynamic and diverse as India. So as we wrap up, here's a thought for you to mull over. In an increasingly interconnected world where every national headline can echo globally and every local event can become a political flashpoint, how do you filter the noise? How do you discern the truly impactful trends and what hidden connections might still be waiting to be uncovered in the next day's news?
Always more to uncover.
Always. Thank you for joining us for another deep dive.